Hello there. So there's a bit of December sun, and at a time of year which is renowned for being dark, that's my subject. My subject is the dark. So having a conversation this morning, and like so many of us, so much stuff is coming up from the past this year, 2020. What it's all about. It's funny, we have this expression for a long time, 2020 hindsight. So that literally means the ability to understand things from being able to refer to the past. And this year is all about the past coming up, quite often giving us a really good hard bite in the bum as it reminds us of something perhaps we don't want to be aware of. So I'm taking you on this journey out of where we are now living, having almost finished this move. But let's look at the darkness. So what I'm aware of is this: when I was a child, I was afraid of the dark, no question about it. Really was terrified of the dark. And I've got this metaphor to give you, which is that most of us have at some point been up all night, and there comes a particular point really late in the night, early in the morning, usually somewhere around about 3 a.m. it starts to get really cold if you're outside, and it's a strange time because it has been dark for so long. It's been dark for so long, and it feels like it's never going to end. It's just going to go on forever. But here's the rub. The rub is we live on a planet where you have the day and the night, and if you're not at the North or the South Pole, you know that as sure as anything, what is going to happen is at some point, and so there I'm aware of it, in the middle of the night, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, it's actually pitch black, and we get up, same thing, and then there comes a point where we notice that the sky is just beginning to lighten. It's not light, it's still really dark, but it's not quite as dark as it was. So here we are approaching the midwinter solstice around about the 21st of December, as always, and this is a very significant time because this has been a year of darkness, a year of all the dark stuff coming up to make us shiver and shake, give us something to be frightened of, give us something to be terrified of. And for some people it's literally been incidents from the past that have never been fully felt or explored or experienced, and coming up and giving us a really hard bite. And for other people it's being enslaved to the story, as Russell Brand loves to say, the narrative of the mainstream media. And for a lot of people that's really putting on the frighteners. And then for people who don't get caught up by those things, there's another possibility, which is the alternative media, full of its own different kind of scare stories. So here's the point. The point is, if you feel frightened this year, if you've experienced fear, good on you. That shows that you're not brain dead. That shows you've still got a soul. That shows that you're alive. So the first thing I'm saying is to realise that this is a very dark time and a very dark year. And here we are in December. So dark, dark and dark. So it's completely natural and to be expected to feel fear. And I've made a film about it called Fear Soup. That's what we've all been swimming in the fear soup for many months now. And so the thing about the fear is to feel it and then get on with your day or get on with your life. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been feeling all these fears coming up from my past, from a childhood, and spilling out from other people's unconsciouses, which I pick up empathically. And it's all going on, and I just get on and I drive the car back to the old home, fill it up with more stuff and bring it back to the new home, and that's what I do. So I do feel the fear, and as well as feeling the fear, I get on with what needs to be done. And I'm incredibly excited about this new move, because one of the things I really disliked about where I lived, it was all set up to being so easy in a way which is not productive or conducive to good health. And what I mean to say is, if you've got everything done by just pushing a button, makes you lazy, makes you weak. So this move has been fantastic for me. I've become so much stronger doing this move. I've become incredibly 3D, so 3D, and as a result my diet has changed completely. I've been consuming more meat the last couple of months than I probably have done in the last 20 years. Extraordinary. And with that has come the awareness of the increased 3D connection. And there I was doing my 10 years of facilitating work with people, working with plants and other such things. It was wonderful to have done all that, and I know from my past experience with macrobiotics that everything changes, and so I'm having a really big 3D experience with all this. And indeed tomorrow I'm actually going to be helping one of the family members in their house move. That's a really great thing to be doing. So it's making me much more focused, much more physical, much stronger physically, and I'm having the odd injury and then dealing with that and getting on and making sure I don't harm myself permanently, give myself the rest I need. This was a strain to a wrist which was broken 10 years ago, and various other little cuts and bruises. So just deal with it all. So this really is a time. So because there's so much out there which is literally hell-bent, that's a great phrase, I'll say it again, hell-bent on frightening you and everyone. And if it's not the stuff that's happening in the present time, it's stuff coming up from the past to do with your karma, to do with your childhood, to do with other lives. That's really what this time is all about. So we then, in the dark times, we feel the fear and we take appropriate action. And great love and respect to the people I know that have been preparing, growing their vegetables, cultivating their gardens, preparing their food stores. All these are really great things to do at this time of year. Very traditional. So going back to me, so what I now do in my morning, I love it. Because in the morning I get the water, which is all the way at the other end of the garden in the sheds, and I bring it from the sheds to its temporary resting place just outside the house. And if I need to fill up the water container in the house, I fill it up. And then I go outside with the wood basket that we bought for ourselves as a treat quite recently, and I fill up the wood basket with the wonderful dry season hardwood logs which I obtained quite recently, and I then go to the back to the furnace site and I fill up the coal scuttle with the furnace light, which is a solid fuel which I make use of as well. And I take my little axe out and go to the pile of the builder's wood, which is all wrapped up. Everything's all wrapped up, keep it dry. And I get just a few pieces of builder's wood out and I get my little axe and I axe that up into kindling. And half an hour later, I've got everything prepared. The two fires, my two fires are two wonderful fires, which I'll introduce you to later. They're all prepared, everything's ready when we need to light them. And it's such a good feeling. So this is the journey away from where we live in Somerset to the motorway, which connects us with where we used to live and where some of the family members live. And we've actually got some sun coming out now, which is a bit of a extra treat. And this part of the world, Somerset, the landscape, the nature is different. In East Devon there's a lot of these orangey leaves, orangey brown leaves from the copper beech. Huge amounts of copper beech everywhere, and it really does something to the colour of the landscape, and the soil is that Devon red soil. Well, here in Somerset there's nothing of the kind. Some lovely coppice trees on the left there, you might have noticed. So you've got the green of the grass. You don't have those rich browny reddish tones here at all. It's more like kind of grey and green and light mid-brown. Very, very different. Here just going through a bit of woodland, and we're starting to explore the area. And so this is my other thing to say to you. If you're finding it hard dealing with all this dark stuff and dealing with all these feelings of fear that come up, first of all, congratulate yourself for feeling that fear, because you feel that fear and then you get done what needs to be done. And then the other thing too is make sure that you make time for being out in nature. And I've not been doing this hardly at all because so much of my energy and time is put into the move. But looking out at this woodland, I'm seeing yet another place. Oh yes, I'll be able to come here and explore, get in the woods. So even though I'm not doing my nature thing right now, I'm anticipating in the very near future more time out in the wild nature, out in the woodlands. There is actually a sea only about 35 minutes away from where we're now living. I'll be exploring that as well, introducing that to you too. And what we find whenever we go out into nature and we slow down, and whether it's fields and pasture, whether it's woodland, whether it's the sea, whatever landscape it is, when you start to walk in it and be in it and slow down, the healing power of nature just fills the soul. And that's such a great thing, to allow your soul to be filled by the healing power of nature, and all these people's opinions and all these online sites and all this mainstream, it just all washes away, just like when the tide goes out and just washes all the crap away. So this is something that we can do to keep ourselves into a state of what I call mental health. One of the best things you can do for your mental health is make sure you get out into nature on a regular basis. So even this trip now in the vehicle, just tuning in to all the sights here, it feels nourishing. It feels like a way to reconnect. And when I've got time to actually go out wearing my woolly boots or whatever, plodding around through them, I'm going to be able to connect with it even more deeply. So thank you very much for coming with us on this little journey to get some more stuff for the house, and love to and feel the fear and do what you need to get done and connect with nature, and drink lots of water, lots of good water, spring water if you can get your hands on it. Do breathing exercises, do physical body work. These are all things that will keep you sane and feed your soul. Thank you very much.